Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Abroad Show here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. This is Monday, the 2nd of December, 2024. I've got a fresh guest tonight. I've got Chloe Williams. Hello.
Hello, good to be here. How are you?
I'm good. You know, when I messaged you to come on tonight, I was like, I knew your name was Chloe Williams, but I just, for whatever reason, it didn't click with me. Usually I've got Mr. Williams, Dan Williams with me. So we're just keeping it in the Williams family, mate.
Yeah, for sure. Why not?
Yeah. Now, I know who you are, and I think a lot of the people who are watching will know who you are, but this is your first time on the Blue Abroad Show. Is that right?
I think I've been on once before. Maybe last year. Like it was quite a while ago.
Well, what's been happening since then?
I can't remember exactly what I was doing when I was last on. As I said, it was a while ago, but at the moment I'm just doing some social media work at Supercoach at the Herald Sun, and then writing on the side whenever I get the chance, which is always fun too.
Cool. Yeah, I think you were at House of Footy last time you were on. I think that's what you were mainly focusing on. And then I think Herald Sun / Supercoach came a little later.
Yeah, I think that would sound about right if it was about this time last year, which I think it was. So preseason time last year.
What's it like? Yeah, what's it like being at the Herald Sun?
Oh, it's been great so far. No complaints. Shout out to Tim. Good to have some fellow Carlton supporters in the office. I have moved a bit further away from him now, but yeah, good to have some nice Carlton chats.
Yeah. And what are your what are you looking to do like in the sports media world? It seems like you're in the space and you're contributing, and like what's the ideal, vision for you and what you're trying to achieve?
I'm still figuring that out at the moment, to be honest, in terms of a bit of a long-term goal. But at the moment, obviously on the socials, but it's always been a goal of mine to kind of transition more into the writing space. I think that's probably where I'd prefer to be, but yeah, loving it for now. So we'll see what transpires.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. And you mentioned this last week. We're at training, and we'll touch on that soon because the two of us were lucky enough to be at training. But writing, it's an art. It's not a dying art. I don't think it'll ever die, but it's as underappreciated as I can remember it being. So I'm glad that you're holding down the fort with the writing style.
Yes, I would agree with you on that. But I definitely think it's still so important, especially in the sports media and footy media landscape. So yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I've always liked doing, and being able to combine sort of my love of writing and my love of footy in particular, but sport in general has always been top of the card. So yeah.
Well, tonight should be a breeze because we're talking about Carlton, and that's always easy. So I guess, well, I mean, what happens in your world in the off season? Like, how do you deal with your footy year when it ends?
Well, just get sad for a while. And then, this year was a bit different because we went straight for Supercoach. We went straight into NBL and now prepping for BBL. So other years I've kind of sat around and waited for BBL to start and just watched as a fan, because then by the time BBL ends, it's pretty much preseason games for footy anyway. So that always got me through. But this year NBL, I've been watching a fair bit of NBL just through work. So that's been good. Kept my mind off it a bit, and now all of a sudden preseason's back. So yeah, can't wait to fill my time with preseason until the season starts pretty much.
It's crazy. I think the footy year from a content perspective gets longer every year. Like, I don't know. I think apart from the 2 draft nights, which we covered live on the channel, I reckon those 2 weeks prior to the draft and then the week after the draft was the only time I really felt that peace and that ability to just breathe. And then before you know it, like the boys are at training last week and we're there, and it's just like, oh my God. And then, the senior boys are back this week from today, and it's just all systems go until Christmas.
Yeah, well, I guess there's that Christmas break too. But apart from that, it pretty much just rolls straight on into another year. But I don't know, this footy season this year seemed to go so quick, at least in my opinion. Like it was June and then all of a sudden it was over. But it's funny that you say that about kind of the content year, I suppose, because from a Carlton perspective, technically we're starting training a little bit later than we have in previous years, just considering 2 finals appearances in a row. But it definitely feels that way, that it kind of feels longer. I don't know if it's just because I'm more involved in it now than I have been in the past, but I don't know. It's a good thing for me, but I'm sure for you it's a bit hectic.
I don't mind. I don't know. It's like a catch-22. Like when the season's here, it's just everything's pulling you in every direction at any moment in time, and all you want is just a moment of peace. And then, to be dead honest with you, like you get the peace, and then it's like, this is shit. Like, give me the stress. give me the like. I want to be angry about something. I want to be excited about something. I want to. Yeah, it's weird. We're funny buggers as supporters. I think we love our peace, but not too much. Like, it has to be on edge.
Well, and also when you look at the way that this year transpired, I feel like obviously there's been some pretty tough years being a Carlton supporter, but this year just had a different feel to it, because halfway through the year, I never really say, yep, it's happening or anything like that, because I don't really ever believe it. And also I never want to put a jinx on. But after that Geelong game, I was convinced. And then pretty much from halfway through the next game, it was all downhill from there. So it was a bit of a weird roller coaster, I feel, in particular last year, which, makes it a bit more tiring too, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we get cracking? We've got a few things to cover. We are going to talk about preseason training. We'll touch on a few themes and issues that are coming up, as well as just get through all the bits of news that we saw from the week. Now, you and I were there last week at training. It was weird because it was raining and then it wasn't raining.
Yes.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to play some of these training highlights. Actually, I'm going to play the ones at the club, mate, because they were great. And then we're going to talk over them. So from what you saw last week, what were the main updates from week 1 of training?
Well, I'm sure anyone who follows me would know that my biggest takeaway was definitely Jagger, just looking so clean with the ball, just providing us everything that we've kind of been missing. So evasive. I mean, obviously just drills, so I don't want to get too hyped up. But yeah, for me, he just really stood out so much. Oh, there he is on screen.
Mate,
he stood out of the crowd, in my opinion.
He's got that what's the dancing feet?
Yes, definitely.
He's got quick feet. He's like, and again, it was training, so we're not getting carried away, but you can just tell the way he moves, like there's a confidence about him.
I know, and that's the thing that just lends even more to all the moves like Jagger headlines. But unfortunately, it's true, quick hands and quick feet. And I hate to be the person to say this, but I've told a couple of people there's a little bit of Dacos in it, just in the way he moves. I'm not going to, start drawing comparisons from the get-go, but just I can see a little bit of that in the way that he moves around the ball in particular. So
you are definitely a Williams.
Yes.
Naturally, all of us will look at, who's put on size, who's looking lean. I don't know. I probably did used to buy into that a little bit. Was there anyone that actually stood out to you as looking like having that much of a different physique?
Yeah, I'm probably one as well who I don't really like to buy into that too much, because obviously at the end of the day, footy's about skill and ability. It's not all just about size. You could be the biggest person and still, not be able to achieve the goals that have been set out for you in particular. But I will say that probably Cooper Lord and Lockie Cowan were 2 that I really noticed had put on some size.
It was also interesting. Jacob Wiedering was at the session, and I guess because it was a first year to 4th year session, like Jacob's now in year, what is it, 9, 10? Oh my God. It's coming up to
going to 9, I think. 10.
Yes, me. So like naturally his body has, been evolving for pretty much at least twice the time that most of those who are training has. So just to see where he's come from and where he's...
Yeah, he looked like a bit of a mountain amongst the rest, didn't he?
Yeah. So that's that. Now, the guys have moved to Latrobe. Do you know much about this? Because I know that they were waiting for the AFLW Grand Final to finish before they are ripped off the turf. Do you have any details about this?
I don't. I know that they're redeveloping the turf, but I don't know anything about what that entails.
Yeah. I want to find out. I don't know if it's like
I can try to find out for you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a full-time Latrobe Bundura preseason training block that we're going to be doing, or if it's just a couple of weeks while the turf gets relayed and then you just, I mean, I can only assume if you relay turf without being an expert at all, I'm going to guess you don't want to be running on it straight away. I don't know.
I read somewhere about how long it was going to take, but that was a long time ago. I feel like they could be at Latrobe for a while, but I'm a bit like you where there we go, 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks, according to Tony DeBolfo. Okay, that's good to know.
Okay, yeah, that's probably what I would expect without knowing anything about turf.
Yeah. G'day, Wayne. Anything to do with last year's? No, I think I've read about this. Every so often you have to relay the turf after you do it. And I think the last time they did it was just before 2020, might have been 18 or 19. And
Okay.
I think every so often you have to get it done. So this is just that time. But who knows? If it can keep the boys away from soft tissue injuries in the off season, then I mean, we'll take it.
Yeah, we'll definitely take that.
So going into this off season, and those of you watching, get involved in this question. Like, what do you want? What are you looking for? What are the storylines that are on your mind? Like I asked Paul last week, but Chloe, from your point of view, like what matters to you about the team in this off season that you're just dying to know the outcome of?
Well, this could honestly be a little bit boring for you. And I know that it's been talked about a lot, and I've probably talked about it a bit myself.
Yeah.
But I just want to see obviously you can't really say no injuries, but minimal damage. I just want to start the season probably as close to full health as we ever have, which I guess then extends into the actual season with less injuries, because that's probably the biggest thing that I want to see from the year. And I think that really does start in preseason. I was quite happy to see, which is, I never thought I would say, I was quite happy to see some of the senior guys returning at their actual due date, I suppose, rather than absolutely hitting the ground running weeks earlier. I know that probably some of them were behind the scenes anyway, but I don't know. There was that kind of vibe about last year about hitting the ground running, and then it didn't really turn out for us for whatever reason. Nobody really knows exactly why, but when all of those injuries transpired, I really think, obviously there was a lot to go into it, but I really do think that consistency element had a big impact on last year. So that's probably the main thing that I would like to see from not just the preseason, but leading into the year as well.
Yeah. I would love to go through a year where at least 10 players play every game.
Yeah, I think I said 12 when I was speaking to my dad about it, about what would be that ideal number. Considering that it's always 2 or 3, I probably would take 10 actually. We can get away with 10, I think.
Yeah. So instead of averaging double-digit injuries on the list, why don't we for once have double-digit players who play every game next year?
I would absolutely love that, because I know from an outside perspective, people are always saying, oh, Carlton supporters, they just, complain about injuries all the time, or just if this person was fit, those narratives. But it's actually true in my opinion.
100% true.
Yeah.
100% true.
Yeah, I think it was just West Coast that had worse injuries than us in the last 5 years or something like that, which does not surprise me at all. And there's also that element, which I think happened a lot with Richmond as well last year, where once you have those compounding injuries, then your players can't find any momentum if they're going in and out. I know that just off the top of my head, probably Saad was one of those. Obviously, Chera, he didn't really come back in. But if you have more than one injury in a year too, then you just can't find that continuity. And then even though it's like, yes, especially, I guess what happened in that Brisbane final, yes, you're getting the name of the player back, but you're not actually getting that player in their best form. So it's almost like, I don't know, it's almost not the same, if you know what I mean. Like, just because it looks good on paper doesn't mean it's going to transpire how you would hope.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose one of the other things as well is, like, we've been defined by contest and pressure for so long. And that's really been the message of this group and this team. Is that just going to continue the way it has the last 3 seasons under Vossi? Or, will that just become a natural part of it, like the starting point of our DNA? And then how will they adjust to where the game is going. You know, are there going to be positional changes? Is there going to be a little bit more speed on the ball? Are we going to try and get the ball to go through certain players? It's a really interesting dynamic because when I talk to people lately, there seems to be this theory that, oh, well, you know, we better hurry up because the window's like closing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't agree. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, Cripps is 30. Like, I understand that. But like Charlie, Harry, Jacob, Walshy, like De Koning, we're talking about like, I mean, no older than 27.
Yeah.
So it's like they're coming into their prime. Cripps will be one of the elder statesmen if and when we do it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's as short of a window as what I am hearing.
I would agree. Yeah. And I think especially the way that they approached the trade period probably confirms that as well, just because if they probably would have gone full Collingwood mode if they had a thought that it was closing and just brought in as many people as they could to plug holes. And I think it's interesting what you say about how the game style could change. I think that the main thing that stands out for me probably is that speed on the ball element, just looking at who we brought in and probably who we took out. Like Kennedy going to the Dogs, for example. Obviously, he was probably, well, just by the fact that he played every game, he was probably one of our better players last year. But he still couldn't fit into their future plans, mainly because we were looking in to bring that differing element, is how I saw it.
So do you look at the Kennedy one, for example? Do you think there was a mind to say Cooper Lord should play those minutes, or do you think it's more of a Jagger Smith will play those Kennedy minutes and will shift the way that we move the ball?
I think it'll be very interesting to see who it is exactly that plays those minutes, because that was the thing for me is I was always a huge fan of him. And even when I would draw out my best 22s, not that I'm in the camp that they don't exist as well, just because of the fact that, when's your best 22 ever fit? Hopefully this year. But he would always end up landing kind of in that sub role just because of who else we had available. So I'm hoping, as much as I want to see a lot of Jagger, maybe it would be a different role that we'd see him in, just because I'm hoping that our primary mids will stay fit this year. But I think it would probably be more likely him than Lord to come in, even though obviously I was saying before about how Lord's looking pretty good too. I just think the role that Jagger could play with that speed on the ball would probably be more what we were looking for. But yeah, it's hard to tell at this point.
Yeah. I also realized that this is the time that the delusion starts.
Yes, definitely.
We get
I'm not going to claim that I'm not delusional.
No, because we get 1 week of training, we get 2, and we get 3, we get through unscathed for 3, then 4. Yeah. And I remember this time last year, we got through Christmas and it was like, oh, what's the Christmas injury going to be? And we didn't get an injury for Christmas.
Yeah.
We got to the start of January and we were doing okay. And then bang, bang, bang. What was it? Wiedering calf, Jack Silvani ACL, Sam Walsh back soreness. So
it got to that point, I remember it, like right before the season started, where you'd open Instagram and there'd be a photo of a player, like just a photo of a player. And I would just be like, my heart was in my, what's the expression? I don't know. You just look at it and you'd think, oh no, are they injured? And then you'd read the caption and it would just be like day for it or something. And you'd be, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. Hey, Saz, I feel you here. Hate to bring this up when we're discussing player ages, since they're not exactly a favourite of mine, but Geelong have done not too badly with their age group. I don't think age is a factor in the conversation about Carlton.
Yeah.
Like, we're nowhere near that conversation yet.
No, I think there's still so much youth in the list as well.
Mm. Yeah. Oh, and that was the other thing we saw last week. Like, these highlights are from the session last week, the first year to fourth year players. There's a serious injection of fresh energy at the club with the twins, with Harry O'Farrell, with Jagger, obviously Harry Charlton as well, but just this fresh injection of people. What do you make of that? Is that something to note, or is it not relevant?
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what it does. I couldn't say that I have an opinion on exactly what it will do, but I guess in my opinion, it's kind of more so, obviously for so long, it was that 2015 draftee group of Harry, Charlie, Weeders and the like, who were kind of the new wave, so to say. But I think this could be a new wave of its own, obviously not a key position haul like that year or like what Richmond have done. But, yeah, I'll be really interested to see what they can bring in terms of that energy. But it does definitely feel like they're like kind of the 20 and under, 21 and under group, I suppose, are kind of making their own little friendships and stuff, I suppose. And that seems to be bringing something on the field too. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% sure what it'll do, but it's probably good from a culture sense, I would say.
It's the ultimate test of the culture, I think. I think that's the other storyline that I'm focusing on. Like, what does the culture of this group really, like, where is it at, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the ultimate test of it now is, now that you're bringing in, first of all, early draftees, fresh players from other clubs, senior players, the pillars of this group right now, we just mentioned them, you know, Harry, Charlie, Jacob, Sam Walsh, you know, Cripps, these types. They're not kids anymore. They're the leaders of the culture. It's a test of it. And we're going to see the fruits of what the labor of putting that culture together is.
Yeah, well, I think especially there was obviously a multitude of reasons why this was the case, but you can sense that the backline in particular weren't impressed with how they sort of ended the year, I suppose. Obviously, there was a lot of, in my opinion, not enough pressure going on the ball when it was going inside the back half, I suppose. But to see Weeders there with the younger group, and he was just so vocal, I really think that he's one in particular, especially after all those corkies who will really be looking to drive the standards. So if he's the one driving the standards, then I'm happy with that after what I saw last week. Don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm very happy with Jacob Wiedering. You know what I like about Jacob Wiedering and what he's done in his off-season? Mate, engagement, wedding, done.
Yeah.
Nothing about. Like, you know, we don't need an extra session to drink. Like, I like it. That's a man after my heart. Just efficiency.
I feel like it's very on brand for him too. So
yeah. We saw 2 player profiles come out from the club this week. One was Ashton Moyer and one was Billy Wilson. And it prompted my question for the next theme tonight. And that is, who do you think is going to be 1 or 2 or maybe more player or players that'll crack into the regular starting side? Like, obviously, you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe everyone's healthy and the best 22 conversation here or there will come up. But there's always someone who locks themselves either in for the first time or back in after being out.
Oh, you know, I was thinking about this all day since your message earlier. I haven't necessarily nailed down one, but who I've got on my radar is, I think it's probably, we'll see that it could be a battle between Jack and Moya. I don't know. I feel like they'll probably be going head to head in a way. That also depends on what they do with De Koning and Pitto, you know, whether they still want to run 2 rucks or just 1. I feel like they'll go with 1, and then we'll have room for an extra forward. So then will you bring Jack in to pinch hit, or will Moya then be able to cover more of a Jack Martin role, I would say, in his absence? I don't know, bring that spark, bring that energy to the forward line. I could definitely see him making a regular appearance. But then there's also someone like Jackson Binns who probably really needs to get himself into the 23 this year. Do I see that happening? It depends on so many things, like Ollie training in halfback, supposedly. And then there is obviously what we were discussing at training, whether Jack goes back. So there's so many different things, but they're probably the ones that I've got my eye on. And then, yeah, we've already spoken about Jagger and Cooper, so we'll leave them alone for a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it was Luca that mentioned it here. He's with me. It absolutely has to be Jesse Motlop.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's absolutely Jesse Motlop.
See, in my head, he's already in the best team if he's fit, but I guess it hasn't necessarily been, you know, set in stone yet. So, yeah, I agree with that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the storylines of some of these players, like Walsh this time last year, for example, coming off the finals run.
Yeah.
And this time last year, we're all saying Brownlow Walsh. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
He's the best player in the team. Full preseason, Brownlow Walsh, lock it in. Jesse had come off a pretty solid year as well.
Yeah.
Given it was his second season at the time, end of the second season. And it's interesting because, hype comes and goes, and sometimes you can get overhyped in the preseason, and then circumstances happen like injury, and it just derails you. And then we're very quickly to forget like what players can do. And I think Jesse's fallen into that. So I think I do believe Corey Durden is going to show something. I do believe with the fresh run at it. I think quite a few years in the system now. They're not teenagers anymore. They're early 20s, granted, but 3-4 seasons into the system, those two in particular. This time last year, we were saying that Owies can't play because Durd's a motlop of the future, and I think that conversation will rear its head again.
Definitely, because obviously there were so many of us who were sad to see Owies go, and he was so consistent and had such a great year last year. But then you do have to consider, when I was talking about Sard before, Motlop and Durden are two as well that had repeat injury issues last year that held them back. So when they did come into the team, it wasn't necessarily the version of them that everyone had been hyping on about, everyone had been expecting to see. It wasn't necessarily proof of who they actually are as players, in my opinion. So if they can get a good run at it, it would be great to see what they can do with consecutive games, especially consecutive games at AFL level.
And then there is Billy Wilson. There's I sense there's a bit of confidence around his ability from the inside.
Definitely. And we saw a lot of that in the preseason games last year, which is obviously a fair way back. But I remember being, eye test wise, I remember thinking he's definitely got something that, like, we've picked a good one here. And then he kind of, obviously didn't debut, had a bit of inconsistency at VFL level. But when he was playing well at VFL level, it was great to watch.
Yeah. Jack Silvani, we've already spoken about.
Do you think that he will go back?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't think that's the option, personally. My best guess is that he starts in the role that he last played, which was the forward that pinch hits in the ruck.
Yeah.
Because that gives us the ability to play De Koning as the sole ruck, so to speak. So
without
I think
Harry,
yeah. So I think that's where it starts, personally. I just don't know about Jack as a defender. I know that he's had moments where it's looked okay.
Yeah.
But there has also, we did also do it in 2023. Played a few games in the VFL, down back, and then sort of got his way back into the side. And then, I think most of us remember the 4-goal game against Port Adelaide at Marvel, and that was kind of like the prototype best of Jack Silvani. But at the same time, he's versatile, so he can do a lot of things.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be an interesting watch. What do you think about, sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah, no, go for it.
We've, in my opinion, got overall, like if you look at everyone available, a very tall forward line as opposed to what is kind of the norm now. Obviously, Brisbane won the premiership with a taller forward line, so, barring that. What's your opinion on that? Because I know that a lot of people have been talking about how smaller forward lines are the future. I don't necessarily agree. And I think it's it's almost become a bit of a point of difference for us to have the two power key forwards and then still got height remaining as well to stand alongside them. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't think we need to chase what's seemingly the trendy thing right now. I think we can make the trend. And we are one of few teams that have the tall forward line. And I think if we can make it work, and this is the thing that gets me with every conversation about this team. You have Harry and Charlie. Like, how is it not the most dangerous forward line in the league? Like
it is. Well, in my opinion, because before everything kind of went wrong last year, I guess. I can't remember the exact stats, but I remember writing about it about halfway through the year. And pretty much all the forward stats in terms of your shot quality and the percentage of shots that you score from, I don't know how to really word it. I don't know what the exact stat is, but the percentage of shots that you score from like the attempts that you make from set shots and then from general play, we were just pretty much winning or top two in all of those stat categories. So I don't know. I think it looks pretty positive. I think it works when it works well. It's just making it work well all the time.
Yeah. I think there's a level for Harry and Charlie, just another year together that can help with the synergy. That's the other storyline as well. Charlie.
Yes.
A challenging year for him with just being sore, being in the leadership group for the first time.
Yeah.
Completing his third season back after missing pretty much 2 in a row.
It's kind of starting again in a way. Hey?
Yeah. And so I think for me, it's like, what, Charlie's still developing. Like, I know that might be a really weird thing to hear.
Yeah, I agree.
But he is still developing. And so I do think there's improvement and a more like rounded game from him to come, even though he has a high percentage of score involvements as a part of his stats. But I still think there's more scope for development with him.
I think that's probably for me the craziest part of it all, is that I agree with you. And even when he was winning the Coleman for a fair chunk of last year, I think most of us would agree that it's not that anyone thought he was playing bad. He obviously wasn't playing bad, but I think he still had so much more that he could give. So I think that should be scary for everyone else, really, is because I definitely think he does have a fair bit more growth and so much more to give, which, is crazy considering that he nearly won the Coleman last year without even performing at his best and playing sore, and along with everything else you mentioned there too.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm thinking with this group at the moment. What else is on your mind?
I don't know. I just keep coming back to that consistency thing. It will be good to see who can break in, but then I just think because there were so many people whose roles were affected by injury, it's just going to be kind of interesting to see who will be in that best 23 come round 1, and then whether we can string some games together with the same group as well. I just think, I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
Well, Jimmy, we got you in, mate. And it begins. There's one.
Hit the nail on the
head. Yeah. So looking ahead, rest of the preseason, what are you doing the rest of this preseason? Like, are you just looking to cover trainings when you can?
Yeah, pretty much. Want to get the time too. As I said, Supercoach BBL is kicking off soon. If anyone likes cricket, just kidding. But in between doing that, I will be trying to go to as many trainings as I can.
What can you tell us about the landscape of footy fantasy from what you see out there?
What, from a Carlton perspective?
No, just in general, because like you obviously write for Supercoach and you play Supercoach. Have you? I mean, I play AFL fantasy. Like, I have a draft, and I play Draft Stars, like daily fantasy on a Saturday or a Sunday. Like, what do you make of what's happening? I think I saw a new platform's coming for AFL fantasy, or it's like the old Ultimate Draft.
Yeah, I don't know too much about it, but I have heard about that. Hayden, who I work alongside, he's well versed in all of that. I'm only playing a draft league for the first time at the moment. Actually, I've just always played Classic Supercoach, never AFL Fantasy, which I'm not just saying. But it's definitely growing and it's definitely expanding in different ways. But I think the best part about it is just then, I don't know, ever since playing Supercoach, I just have a better understanding of probably other teams and players from other teams, the way other teams play, because you just kind of have to if you've got those players in your team. So I think it's a great avenue into understanding more about other teams as well and the game as a whole, I guess. That's probably my favorite thing about it.
Yeah. No, it is good fun. I have been playing fantasy. I was a Supercoach person from like 2008 up until...
Me too, actually. I would have been 8, but that's probably around the time when I first started playing on my dad's desktop computer, which is kind of crazy.
I remember I used to go to school as year 12 and like we'd go to the library, and this was just before social media really kicked off. Social media pretty much kicked off properly the year after, I think. And I remember we used to like do our teams in the morning on a Monday. I would like rage trade. I've been rage trading every Monday for 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy though how it's kind of changed from then, because I think now there's so much data accessible, there's so many opinions accessible that people end up with pretty similar teams. But it is crazy to think back to then when, there's not as much information available and you kind of have to wing it a bit more. Or the people who really put the time in kind of reap the rewards a bit more than they do now, I guess, just because you really have to try hard if you want to, find the good rookies and all that. So,
I take my hat off to those who know how to do it. I don't have the concentration for 20 plus weeks to get it right. Maybe the first 6 weeks I'm good, but I think that's most people. I think most people can lock in for a month or two. But fair play. Who's the best player that you know personally?
The best super coach. Oh, I guess it would have to be Al.
Okay.
He's the head honcho, so I think he always finishes pretty high. But Hayden's, who I work with, he's very good as well. He's currently 10th in Supercoach NBL, which, you can kind of just apply the skill to other sports as well. But I can't remember what he finished in footy. I remember he rolled the dice on Deconing right before the Geelong game. Traded Rowan Marshall out, and he got 140. I can't remember. It was an insane score. Yeah. But then obviously, he got injured soon after the next game or something, maybe 2 games after that. So, but that was fun while it lasted. We were on the plane home from a Supercoach workshop in Sydney, and we couldn't get the Supercoach scores while we were in the area. And we landed, and it was halftime, and he was on 80 points, and it was good. But anyway,
I just got a text from someone who asked about number 49, and it prompted me to go over this. To go circle back one moment. There were a few players who were wearing numbers that were not the players that they usually are in those numbers. Yeah. Do you want to maybe run through? I mean, we have four names, right, that we know we're training.
Yeah, we've got 4 at the moment. Yeah. But so Francis Evans and Ethan Phillips, to my knowledge, that's just for the VFL side that they're training with us. So to my knowledge, they're not in contention for the SSP spots. I think it's more of a Denver Granger Barras v Liam McMahon, and then you've got Matt Carroll and Sam Durden probably going head-to-head, is what I've gathered so far. Is that the same for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ethan Phillips, Francis Evans for the VFL, McMahon, Denver Granger Barras, Sam Durden, all just there.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great for the VFL side, though, to have Phillips and Evans, because I've quite liked what I've seen from them, so I think that I
really like Ethan Phillips.
Yeah, me too. I was not that I'm going to say I was disappointed when I saw that he signed with the VFL club, because hopefully that can be a bit of an inroad for him. But I love what I've seen from him. Well, he looked good in that highlights. Oh, are you bringing the highlights up? No.
No. I was going to bring this up. Did you see this?
Yes, I did see that.
What did you make of it?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know, really. It's good. I think it's good. What do you think?
Well, I'm an Arsenal man. Paul Sebastiani kind of echoes my sentiments. Keep him away from Tottenham.
Yeah,
fair enough. I get it. It's Ange. It's Uncle Ange. It's Theo Ange. But Vossi is in the UK for a week. He is spending time with Tottenham or with Ange. Yeah. And a rugby team whose name has escaped me, but he's there on a personal development trip.
I'm a fan of personal development, so
yeah,
props to him, I would say.
Do you think? I mean, I love this getup. I love what he's wearing personally. Yeah. And I get that you wear the Carlton polo on game day, but what do you think of coaches' attire on game day? Do you think it should just be stock standard, wear the club logo, or should they dress a little more formally like this?
I think it'd be great if they dress more formally.
Yeah, I think so too.
Don't you?
I think
it would be better.
Yeah, there's only 18 of them in the world that coach an AFL team. And they are under so much pressure all the time.
Yeah.
I like it.
No, I think he should be wearing that on game day for sure. Why not?
Yeah. So yeah, look, I'm not Luca, I'm not wrapped that Vossi's with Tottenham either, but in the name of personal development.
Yeah. Well, it seemed to work pretty well for Sam Mitchell, hey, didn't he?
That's true.
Go over there last year, so.
Says Saracens Rugby Club. Thank you. Does anyone know anything about this rugby club? I've never heard of it.
I can't say that I do. No.
Luca, we know that we won't win the flag because Spurs don't win anything. Well, let's just settle. Aiden should have gone to the other two down the road, one in Manchester and one in Liverpool. Are you a Premier League fan, Chloe?
I used to watch a fair bit of it during COVID and when I was a bit younger, Manchester United, but haven't really been on the bandwagon at the moment.
So you are technically a Manchester United fan?
Technically, yes. Yeah. I actually went over there for the FA Cup final in 2015. I think it was 2015. And that was amazing. But yeah, I've fallen off the bandwagon a bit. Not going to lie.
Okay. This was the other thing I wanted to show. So
is it Elijah in the Manchester United games?
No, but we can look at that. We can look at that.
No, that's
there
right.
was a very familiar face on the fan cams. For,
did you find it?
For AFTV.
Oh, no. Don't worry. I thought you were talking about Harry O'Farrell.
No, I wish. Oh, yeah. So just an update on Harry O'Farrell. I cannot find. I'll touch on it shortly.
Right.
So Paul came on last week and we played the clip of him on the fan cams on AFTV last week. And then there was no Carlton.
He said he was going to have some Carlton on there. And I can only just see it now.
So I watched this fan cam. I didn't notice the hat.
Yeah. It's very incognito.
But can I zoom in here? I think I might be able to. Hang on. It's not really doing what I want it to do. Anyway, there is the Carlton monogram right there. And he's put it out there on the AFTV. So well done to Paul for understanding the assignment.
Love to see that. Yeah, definitely.
What's he getting at? 7.8K? Mate, fantastic. That is exactly what we need.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, yes. So to clear up with Harry O'Farrell, I went through minute by minute every single fan cams that we did from round 12, 2020, the first live one, all the way through to every one in 2021. I have a feeling he came on during one of them that got deleted.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So there were two.
That would be the way, wouldn't it?
There were 2 or 3 sessions that I can't find. I actually cannot find it at all. Whether I went back to Facebook because sometimes I would multi-stream.
Yeah.
And unless he was on in 2022 and he's just got his years mixed up, I just could not find it. So unfortunately, the Harry O'Farrell fan cam on Blue Abroad doesn't exist.
It's just a memory now.
Well, I don't really remember him being on at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. Bigger and better.
Well, I have this image in my head. I was trying to remember, and I think I remember 2 guys sitting on a couch, and I think if it's the one I'm thinking of, Harry was sitting on the left, but I don't know.
That's a good memory.
I don't know. If someone's watching this, Stephen, if you want to go through and help find Harry O'Farrell on the fan cam, that'd be great.
You'll find him eventually, hopefully.
We will. Also, another big piece of news that happened throughout the week was related to this channel, and that was the launch of the membership. So, firstly, the response has been overwhelming, and just to give you all an update, your welcome email will come this week. I'm just getting through all of the members, to be dead honest with you. But if you haven't seen the news, we now have a proper Blue Abroad membership. Actually, I'll show you the first element of it. We have a proper Blue Abroad membership moving forward. So we're going to be deleting the YouTube memberships. And the reason, I've put a video out, you can watch that. And we're going to be moving forward with a our own membership. Now, your packs will all arrive in the mail before round 1, and I've got your actual envelopes. I got them custom made. Yeah, they're going to come in these. So inside that, you'll get your key ring, which will come, as well as maybe 1 or 2 extra things. But yes, if you would like to sign up as a member, the link to the annual membership is pinned to the live chat. So that's $100. Or if you would prefer to pay $10 a month, if you go to the description of this video, you will see the option there. So firstly, thanks to everyone who signed up. And secondly, please just wait a couple of more days. I'll let the numbers filter through, and then I'll send out your welcome emails, and then away we go. So very excited about that. Kate, I did not lick them all. I learnt my membership. I learnt my lesson. Yeah.
Have you done that before?
Oh, so when the pins first came out, I think I was on a live stream and people were buying them live, and I was licking the envelopes.
Haven't you seen Seinfeld?
I had not seen Seinfeld in that moment.
Did someone else say that at the time, and then you watched it?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know it was a thing, but shout out to Hayden Caruso, who owns the tagline "Lick the envelope now." But yeah, no, I learned the hard way. Don't lick the envelope. I started feeling really ill live on the stream. It was just gross.
Did you actually?
It's just like this. I mean, I was eating glue. I was like licking glue for like 30 minutes.
I haven't actually thought about it in that much detail apart from the Seinfeld episode before, but I can see how that would be the case.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. What else is on your mind, Chloe?
Not a lot, really. I'm just keen to see more and more preseason content, if I'm being honest. I think that this is almost, in a way, the best time of year. Obviously, the best time of year is when it's hopefully towards the end of the year and you're sitting near the top of the ladder, which hopefully transpires. But yeah, no, I think it's just, so many different storylines playing out, so much optimism. I think I'll just quickly say one that I've noticed, at least, when you're just hovering around on Twitter and people are pumping out their own version of a best 23, I think people are forgetting potentially what Doherty could bring next year. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think he can kind of return to that form that he was in prior to the ACL, or do you think those days are sort of gone now?
No, it's a great call. I think he's got the smarts. I think he's got the courage, and clearly has the character to contribute. I think you're spot on. The recency bias is real in all areas when it comes to footy.
Yeah. And I mean, what we've had most recently has not necessarily been our best by a long shot. So, I'm definitely going to make it a priority to go back and watch probably the peak of last year and then also the lower moments of last year to kind of just compare those, I guess, because, consistency is what we're striving for. And if we can get even a bit below our best, but on a consistent basis, I think we'll all be pretty happy with what can be produced next year.
Speaking of Doherty, so I did a fantasy draft last year, and what was our first pick? I'm going to say the first pick was like 13 and then 16. It was like a snake ladder, order. First pick, we took Gawn because he was somehow still there. Second pick, we took Second pick, we took Oliver. Disaster, but whatever. Yeah. Our third pick, I believe, was 41, and we took Doc. And
that's rough.
Yeah, so our season was over before it started.
Yeah,
but it is a great point about Doc. I think for sure
he'll be in your best 23 at the moment if you randomly.
Yeah, I mean, if he's available and he's fit.
Yeah,
I do believe that. Yeah.
I think that was probably another thing. Just winding back to the Kennedy's departure, like it's probably another thing that came into it as well. Is that if you are trying to look at a glass half full approach with everyone being fit, then you do also have him to add back into the mix as well, which kind of just pushes that because he was playing that midfield role before the injury, so at the back end of 2023. So, I think we've got a good setup now and some good options across halfback. So, in my opinion, that's probably where he'd play, maybe in the middle or on the wing, if he's got the wing in him at the moment.
Do you see any first-time All-Australians in this group?
For 2025?
Yeah. Do you see anyone in this group?
Well, I think Nick Newman's been robbed the past 2 years, especially last year. I just think if you're looking at like for like, I mean, they don't really do this for All-Australian anyway. Positionally, I think that he was a bit robbed. But can he play that way again this year? I mean, I'm sure he can, but I'm not sure if it would be him. I'm just trying to think. De Koning, I guess.
De Koning, interesting. Harry. Well, Harry was All-Australian in 2021, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2021? Yeah, he's been Australian.
Elijah Hollins.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. If we see a first-time All-Australian next year, you would think it's going to come from the pool of De Koning, Hollins, Chera.
He's another forgotten one, hey. I think everyone's really forgetting what he can do. I know that he's had, it's hard because that's obviously quite an impactful injury, especially an impactful repeat injury. But
yeah,
we're forgetting that we've had the strength and conditioning overhaul. It's all looking up from here. McGovern, yeah.
McGovern. I believe he's got All-Australian level talent. Yeah. I just don't know if he's got All-Australian level durability.
Consistency, yeah. That's true. That's completely fair.
Yeah, you have to play, pretty much have to play like 20 games, particularly to be a first-time All-Australian.
Yeah, which I guess lends to what we were saying before about if we could have 10 or maybe 12 people play that 20. Because if we can have 10 people play every game, it would be great to have, how many rounds are there now? 24 with a couple buys. I don't know. It'd be great to have more than that play, at least maybe 18 to 20.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I reckon that's us for tonight, Chloe.
Lovely. Thank you so much for having me on.
No worries. Thanks for jumping on. We've got, what do we got? We've got technically 3 more Mondays until the year ends.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
What are you doing over the break? Like Christmas time, New Year's, Christmas?
Nothing over New Year's, Christmas because I will be working on Big Bash, but I'll be going away start to middle of Jan, so that'll be good.
Where are you off to?
Cairns and Port Douglas.
Nice.
Keeping it within the country, but I'm still so excited. I've been there a couple of times, but it's just for me very like the epitome of relaxing, the palm trees. It's good. Just sit there and do nothing. Keen for that.
I have not been to either of those places.
Oh, wow. All right. You should head up there sometime.
I should.
It's going to be really hot in January, though. Like this weather is currently in Melbourne at the moment, which nobody is very huge on here at the moment, humidity. But, when you're going for a holiday somewhere to purposely feel that way, I think it's different than when it randomly just arrives in Melbourne. So, I don't know.
That's true. Very good. All right. Well, you have a great night, ladies and gents. Have a great evening. Can't wait to have more to chat about next week. I'm sure we'll have, hopefully not, actually no. I hope there's not much to talk about. I hope there's no news. I hope they just train and get through.
That'll be so good.
We'll see you throughout the week, and we'll see you next week. Go Blues.
Go Blues. Thank you.
Cannolo, it is Sicily. It's definitely a traditional Sicilian dessert, and we want to share exactly this. We want to share a traditional product that can be done with our Australian twist. Cannolo is something that you have to share with your family. Cannoleria try to do exactly that. We try to give a product that you can share with your family, share with your friends. All the important things, it can be happy or can be something sad, it's all around the table. And that's what my grandfather used to say. No matter if you have a little or a lot, food just brings everyone together. You can't go wrong with that. I'm Dario, owner of Cannoleria.